Today was like every other day in Washington since the president announced his American Jobs Act. Absolutely no progress was made in passing that bill. Congress took no steps to address the 9.1% unemployment rate nationwide, the 16.7% unemployment rate among African Americans, and the 18.1% unemployment rate among workers age 18 to 24 who are trying to get their start in the American workforce, trying to become payers into the Social Security trust funds, which so desperately need the weekly FICA taxes from young workers in order to continue the intergenerational compact to provide retirement security to older Americans. America is in the merciless grip of an economic crisis, but Washington is not in crisis mode. Washington continues to play its business-as-usual games. Those games delight many of the top 1% of income earners whose burden sharing in funding our government and our societal investments was dramatically reduced by the Bush administration tax-cutting policies. Business as usual in Washington means that no progress has been made today on a more equitable distribution of tax burden sharing in this society, a more equitable distribution following the Buffett rule, the simple concept that billionaires like Warren Buffett should pay a higher tax rate than their middle-class employees do. The easy ride that Wall Street billionaires are provided by the tax code went unmolested today in Washington. The notion that Wall Street billionaires' income should be taxed at a lower rate than the income of the janitors who clean their office towers remains deeply embedded in the tax code. Washington did nothing today, nothing, to rip that travesty out of the law of this land. Congress didn't hold a hearing today asking why a billionaire should pay a 15% rate on his so-called carried interest income when public school teachers and nurses pay higher tax rates. The Washington power elite went about their business today, making fundraising calls, meeting with lobbyists, scheduling re-election campaign events, while ignoring the massive economic inequities in this society that have become ever so painfully more clear in this economic crisis. If you lost your job today, Washington didn't notice. If you got foreclosed on today, Washington didn't notice. If you couldn't afford to see a doctor today, Washington didn't notice. And if you're a Wall Street billionaire who made another billion today, Washington made no real attempt to tax that billion fairly. It was business as usual in Washington today, and no one caused the power brokers any trouble. Possibly because my first guest was in New York today. Joining me now is Michael Moore, Academy Award-winning filmmaker, activist, and author of the new book, Here Comes Trouble, Stories from My Life. Michael, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I love this book, and I love its title, Here Comes Trouble. Where are you right now, Michael? Are you causing trouble? What are you doing?
I'm here in Liberty Plaza in New York City. We are a block or so off Wall Street. We have financial buildings all surrounding us here. We're in the financial district, and we're in the 12th day now of an occupation of Liberty Plaza here. Thousands of people over the last 12 days have come to this plaza. Thousands of Americans, thousands of people who have come from all walks of life. Because they have had it. Because, I mean, that opening you just gave, the segment, that's the most brilliant thing I've heard on television this week. Thank you for saying what you just said, because nothing happened today for these people, nothing happened yesterday, and nothing is going to happen tomorrow. And, you know, they're not going to do anything because they're bought and paid for. These politicians, they're bought and paid for by the people who work in these buildings up here on the top floors of Goldman Sachs. and Morgan Stanley, all these people, they buy these politicians, so nothing is going to get done. The people have had it, and that's why they've come here, and this is only going to grow. This is going to grow here in Liberty Plaza, and you're going to see this happening in cities all over the country, because not because I say so, not because they say so.
Because we say so.
It's no. Actually, what happened is that the rich weren't satisfied with having practically everything. They wanted it all. And so they have made lives miserable for so many millions of people. People that have lost their homes, people that are being foreclosed upon, over 50 million people that don't have health insurance. The people have lost their jobs. They say it's 14 million. That's the official number. It's well over 20 million. And if you count all the people who are underemployed, in other words, they're working, but they're making a poverty wage, you're talking upwards to 30 million Americans. We've got 46 million living in poverty. People have had it. People have absolutely had it, and they're not going to take it anymore. And you see now the seeds of this revolt that's going to take place nonviolently across the country. The reason it will be nonviolent, the reason it doesn't have to be violent is because there's millions of us, and there's only really a few hundred of them. So it's not really a fair fight.
Well, Michael, it's going to be nonviolent as long as the police around those protesters stay nonviolent. I'm going to talk later in the program, as I did earlier this week, about some of the police brutality that they've had to suffer in trying to express themselves on this issue. And Michael, is it your sense that what you have there and what you have going on in the country is basically a cry from the heart? It's not so much specifically about we want to change this clause in this bill or we want to do this, but you just need to bring attention to these massive inequities and in fact the stall that no one is doing anything. There isn't necessarily the right big piece of legislation to get behind right now, is there?
No, we're not down here to support Senate Bill 2567. No. We're beyond that. They had their chance a long time ago to try and fix this. They didn't fix it because they're in the pocket of these people down here on Wall Street. So this is not about supporting some piece of legislation or let's get behind some politician. This is going to be, and historically in America, this has happened a number of times. It happened after World War I, where the veterans were not paid their benefits. It happened during the Great Depression, when workers rose up in my town of Flint, Michigan, where the modern-day union movement began because people just took over the GM factories. This is what happens when people have had it. And it's not about policy wonkness and beltway. That nobody cares about that anymore. They are just going to descend on, whether it's New York, whether it's in D.C., whether it's in Los Angeles, San Francisco. This is just going to build and build. And you're going to see what I see here tonight. I don't know, your camera probably can't pick this up, but you see a variety of Americans here. You see really the mosaic of this country. You have young people here. You have senior citizens here. You have teachers here. You have nurses here. You have unemployed people here. You have young people who will be paying off student loans until their 40s. And if they lived in any other Western democracy, they wouldn't be in hock for half of their adult lives. This is. I thought somebody put it best the other day when they said the main reason people are down here is to reclaim their future. Not the past, not even the present, but the future has been stolen. That's just how greedy these people are here on Wall Street. And so I'm honored to be part of this, and I'm glad that you have put focus on this. I'm glad that you put focus on the brutality that these demonstrators and protesters had to go through on Saturday. It just, Lawrence, can I just say this? After what the individuals in these high-rises did back in 2008, where they crashed this country right into the ground, and they just ruined it. Millions more without work. Millions lost their pensions. Just just total calamity and chaos for the last 3 years in this country. To this day, not a single one of them arrested. Not one of them. Not one of them. But on Saturday, 100 of these citizens who were being nonviolent, they were arrested. How can I live in a country that arrests 100 nonviolent people and doesn't arrest a single one of these bankers or the people that caused this collapse? Just boggles the mind.
Well, you live in a country where that kind of conduct has to be protested and is being protested. We are grateful to be able to report. Michael, I want you to know, in our control room here, we have a very simple policy. When an Academy Award-winning director asks to widen the shot, we widen the shot. And I'm very glad you did that, because we did get to take in all those people around you down there, and it is an inspirational-looking group down there. I'm going to do one Twitter question for you, Michael, before the break. Then we're going to come back after the break. This one is from Eileen Sarat Kwasai. She's one of my favorite tweeters. She tweets a lot on my feed. She says, Lawrence, I wonder if M. Moore could articulate some specific, tangible goals for this protest, as I've yet to hear any and really would like to.
Right. A lot of people have been asking this question. What are the goals? What are the demands? What you have to understand about this protest is this is unlike any other protest that you've seen in your lifetime, because there's no dues-paying organization that we all belong to. You know, there's no membership form. There's no one person that comes in here and says, now this is our agenda and this is the way it's going to be. There are a variety of demands and concerns within this group. I can say what some of mine are, but don't mistake that for what the breadth of this group here, because I saw Ron Paul people here. I mean, there's all kinds of there's all kinds of Americans here. There's all kinds of Americans here, and nobody here is calling themselves a Democrat or a Republican or a liberal or a conservative. We're beyond that. That's right. This is the people, and everyone here represents thousands of Americans who can't be here tonight, who feel the same exact way. So, I mean, I've said what I've said for a long time. Tax the rich, jail the bankers, end corporate welfare, end these wars which are costing us $2 billion a week. You know, it goes on and on. And if we pass the microphone around, you'd hear 15 other things that need to get done. And you know what? They're going to get done, because this is our country. We're the majority. We're the majority. Never forget that the people who work for a living in this country, we are the people. Not the people up here who are taking people's pensions and their bank accounts and ruining it and destroying their lives. They are not running this country anymore. They think they are, but that's going to come to an end right now.
We're back with Michael Moore, who's joining us live from Wall Street and the protests that have been taking place there now. Michael, it's in the 12th day, is it?
This is the 12th day. That's right. I think a lot of people thought this might last a day or two. It's only grown. Not everybody stays overnight, but people come. And you don't have to. You can come for an hour, come all day long, come down here. It's on the corner of Broadway and Liberty Street. Right in the heart of the financial district here in New York City.
Michael, I want to talk to you about this class warfare argument that the Republicans keep throwing at President Obama and throwing at anyone who talks about trying to do something about the massive income inequality in this country that is not healthy for any sector of the economy. It's not healthy for the rich either. Chris Christie last night, the now most praised and most adored Republican nationally, was at the Reagan Library, and he said this about the president. He said that the president is, quote, telling those who are scared and struggling that the only way their lives can get better is to diminish the success of others. I've never heard the president say that. Have you, Michael?
Wow. No. That's incredible. What's in their heads? I mean, really, how do they, I can't interpret that for you. I don't understand that.
He's trying to say that it's a zero-sum game, that this economy, in effect, this economy will never grow. So whatever you have now, especially if you're at the top of the pile, hold on to it, because Barack Obama and those Democrats want to take it away from you and give it to something else, to someone else, and this economy won't grow. So you'll never have more than you have right now.
Listen, they've been conducting class warfare on the people of this country for a long time. They should know about class warfare because they started the war. They started the war 30 years ago under Ronald Reagan. When they fired the Air Traffic Controllers Union, when they busted that union, they've been busting unions ever since. They've been expecting people to work for less money. They've been expecting people to work for longer hours. They want you to work your butt off so that the company makes huge profits and then can take those profits and move them elsewhere and exploit other people in the third world. That's been their game plan for the last 30 years. Yes, they believe in war. It's to paraphrase Seth Meyers from Saturday Night Live this past weekend. If there's one thing these Republicans know something about, it's war. So when they talk about class war, they are certainly the instigators of it. But let me not leave the Democrats out of this, because they've been at the same trough, taking the same money from the same people. And I think even you've pointed out on this show that Barack Obama's #1 contributor, private contributor, was Goldman Sachs in the last election. And within a month after he was elected, he appointed Timothy Geithner and Larry Summers to run our economic policy in this country. So, you know, that's a problem that he's going to have to face as he's asking everybody here to vote for him again, because he decided to become part of that problem. But make no mistake about it, whether it's Governor Christie, any of these Republicans, the reason they're floundering is because they're trying to find a message to give to the average working person so they can get their vote. But how do they go to those people when they were with George W. Bush, who literally drove this country right into the ground, made life worse for everybody, and then told everybody to their children and their grandchildren are going to have to expect a worse life than the life they've had. People here reject that, and that's why people are here, and that's why this is going to happen across the country. You're going to remember that it started here. This was the place. These were the seeds that were planted, and I'm very hopeful of what's going to happen.
Michael Moore.
Rise up, everybody.
Michael Moore, thank you very much for bringing us there tonight to Wall Street. I hope people there can see on our monitors later on when I come back again later in the program to the discussion of the police brutality that they suffered this past weekend in New York. I have much more to say about it. That's going to be coming up in The Rewrite. We'll be back.